Brilliant. Hello, I'm Leyla Tahir. I am the Tate Collectives producer at Tate. I sit in the digital team and I'm responsible for Tate's digital offer for young people. Tate classes a young person as anyone between the ages of 15 and 25, so we've got quite a large age remit for a young person. I'm going to talk about some of the ways we're working with and for young people to explore this idea of the museum as a haven for creativity. I'm going to share some of the ways that a group called Tate Collective have used the museum to explore curating, to showcase the next generation of artists, and to use it as a platform for really broad and diverse voices. So at the heart of everything we do for young people is Tate Collective. But who are they? They're a group of 15 to 25-year-olds. We have a group at each of the four sites in England, and they are our creative producers. They program for other young people, all 4 Tate sites, and then not all are engaged. We like to think of them as our internal agents for change. And I should say at this point, slight disclaimer, I've got a complete bias because I actually started my journey with Tate at the age of 17, which was 10 years ago, as a member of Tate Collective. So I'm biased, but thank you. I've got a real first-hand understanding of what this program is and the real value that it has both to the young people that we work with and to Tate. So, what do we make Tate Collective do? At the core of everything is this mantra: to inspire imagination and ignite creativity in the gallery and online. And that's what we task Tate Collective to do for both themselves and for other young audiences. They really use Tate as a space to disrupt the usual narratives that we find in galleries and use it as a testbed for creativity and experimentation. We've also got a digital offer that reaches local, national, and international audiences. We've got around 75,000 followers across Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and Instagram. And this is where I guess we exist really meaningfully, but also really playfully in a realm that we know where so many of our audiences live all of the time. This girl is from a landmark project called the 1840s Gift Party, where we invited a really large group of digital artists working primarily with gifts to remix some of the oldest works in our collection. And this girl has done the rounds on Tumblr. She's had about 250,000 reblogs, and to this day, she's still getting reposted. We like to think of her as our mascot. Before I share some case studies, looking at some specific projects that Tate Collective have done, I thought I'd share some of our core values so you can get an understanding. So the first of our really core values is this idea of making a positive difference. So everything that we do needs to create a positive change with and for our young audiences. So I think it's about not ever doing anything for the sake of it, always thinking about how we can change Tate, change the young people that we're working with, or change our audiences for the better. The second one is young people's ownership, agency, and authenticity. This is potentially the hardest thing that we have worked on developing over the roughly 20 years that the Tate Collective program has been in existence in one way or another. But we're now at the stage where we can quite confidently hand over budget, time, space, and energy to Tate Collective and have the confidence in them to deliver a project from conception to delivery. And bearing in mind, these are young people that haven't necessarily got a background in the arts. It's quite a risk, but the way we work with them is that the staff act as mentors and coaches, and the young people really get as much out of this as they can in terms of how we work with them using Tate Collective as a professional development opportunity. The final and probably most important, I think, is this idea of social, cultural, and creative diversity. Tate is a public organisation, and so we've got a duty to represent the diversity of our public audience. So in whatever it is that we do, we really hold this idea at the core. If it means that the groups that we work with as Tate Collective should represent the local makeup of the cities that they're based in. That's what we strive for. For example, in London, the Tate Collective London group is currently 50% black and minority ethnic, which reflects the City of London. It doesn't just exist within those groups. It's from the artists that we're working with on programme to the variety of disciplines that we explore on projects. That is core to everything. So I'm now going to talk through 3 case studies that will hopefully show you how those core values come to life in projects and in content. These happen to be 3 things that I've worked on through the 3 levels of my career at Tate. The first being something that I worked on when I was in Tate Collective, the second in my last role, which was in learning, and then the third in my current role. So I'll talk you through these quite quickly. The first case study is Source, which was a collection display at Tate Britain. We were invited by the then director of Tate. Oh, excuse my really bad crop of this film. I will pop up looking really awkward, but just ignore that. We were invited by the then director of Tate Britain to curate a collection display with the aim of attracting a young and more diverse audience than Tate Britain usually has. So it was not an easy task, but really exciting because it was the first time that Tate Collective as a group were given permission and a project that allowed them to work outside of educational or learning spaces and projects. So this was Tate Collective acting as curators, being on the same stage as the curatorial team, which was really quite a new thing, and I think challenging for both Tate Collective and for the curatorial team. But we were given a space, we were given the whole Tate collection to come up with a display concept that would hopefully appeal to young audiences. So we came up with an idea that looked at Tumblr in relation to the salon hang and considered how young people are kind of encountering art and looking for creative inspiration. So we did a salon hang on one wall of a space in Tate Britain, and basically we got to pick all the things that we thought looked really cool and put them on a wall, which was really exciting. In keeping with the idea of making positive change, trying out new things, we didn't want this display to just be a series of works on walls with captions next to them that you just look at and leave. We embedded 3 digital screens within the display. You can see one on the left. And over the 6 months that the display was open, we invited young people to submit pieces of their own work that related to some themes in the display. One theme example was street style, inspired by the portraits of these young men by photographer Jason Evans. So for the 6 months that this display was open, alongside the Tate collection works, we had young people's works side by side on display for the general public to enjoy. And it was really exciting because we had over 1,000 submissions from across the world and loads of young people coming down and being really proud of their works on display on the same wall as the Tate collection, which was a really exciting opportunity for us to showcase how important we think it is to give young people a space at Tate to be recognised. Alongside this, we did some slightly more fun things. We don't usually programme workshops in response to displays at Tate Britain, but again, in the aim of trying to reach new audiences, we did some new things. We invited some young, emerging creatives to lead some workshops. This is someone called Luca Manini, who's a collage artist, and he ran a GIF workshop. And we also worked with a zine called Accent Magazine, thinking about the theme of street photography in the collection and turning that into some zines. So thinking about how we can draw links between our quite historic collection and then contemporary practice emerging creatives today. And I'm pleased to report that it worked. Our research told us, sorry for the wonky slide, that this display attracted a younger and more diverse audience to Tate Britain, which was really exciting. And we got some really brilliant quotes that showed that in putting this project on and giving young people a chance to do some of the curating, we give our audience the impression that Tate is actually more relevant than they might have thought and it's a changing place. obviously got some hard stats just to prove it. Ethnicity for Tate Britain usually is 9%. For Source, we got to 19, which is small, but is basically double, so we're really proud of that. And again, for age, the percentage of young people at Tate Britain, 13%. And then for Source, we got up to nearly a quarter, which was a really good achievement. So yeah, in giving young people the chance to look at the collection and devise a piece of curatorial work, we gave this impression that Tate is relevant, Tate is interested in what other young audiences are interested in. So even though the project took in total 4 years from initial conception to the end of the 6 months that the display was open, it was really worth it because it changed people's impressions of Tate Britain and showed that displays can be more than just static things on a wall to look at and not engage with. Second case study is the new Tate Modern launch. Last year we launched the new 10th-floor extension to Tate Modern, and Tate Collective were invited to take over for the first day and night of this building being open, which is a massive invitation. And they came up with an entire programme under this question: what's the future of art? We attracted over 50,000 people across the whole weekend, which was really amazing. And I'll talk you through some of the parts that this programme took shape in. So the first, tried and tested, another open call. We invited a global audience to respond to the question, what is the future of art? And then put all of their responses in the Turbine Hall. Because we really wanted to, again, show that we're really excited to showcase and celebrate the contributions that young people can make to Tate. And I really like the idea that when Tate Modern opened the first time round, there was Louise Bourgeois' Maman, big spider in the Turbine Hall. And the second time round for the extension, we've just filled it with young people's work instead. Although there was an Ai Weiwei tree at one end of the Turbine Hall, but this is way more exciting. The second thing we did was put on a series of talks with emerging creatives giving career advice for other young people, because 50% of the people that look at Tate Collectives content on our website have searched for careers. So we know that there is an interest and an appetite for content that talks about establishing a creative career and how do you make it in the arts. So especially in a time where we know arts funding is being cut left, right and centre, we thought it was really important to gather a group of emerging creatives, recent graduates, early-level career professionals to share their knowledge and impart their wisdom on a group of over 120 college students, recent graduates, and we ended up with some really powerful mantras and quotes that young people could take away and hopefully be inspired to go and start their own creative careers with. We took over the evening with a massive party across the whole of Tate Modern. Tate Collective invited a group of artists, musicians, DJs to basically program the entire space. So giving the space over to emerging artists, to the next generation, to really make a statement about what the future Tate Modern is, who it's for and what it's for. It's for everyone. We also commissioned a very technical, quite expensive piece of digital art, which took quite a long time to develop. We had to work with an external partner to put this all together. It was a living, breathing artwork that was hooked up to the building management system and responded according to how many people there were in the building, how hot it was, and there were little elements that walked towards you. Again, exploring new ways of working and thinking about the role of digital in the future of museums. So I guess with this entire programme, the opening weekend of the new Tate Modern, we really wanted to make a statement about the audience having equal ownership of the space as the artists do, and Tate Modern being a place for artists of the future, and hopefully people will have been inspired to come back and maybe go on to pursue creative careers themselves in the future. The final study is a project called Fresh Perspectives, which started out as a series of gallery talks in the gallery. Our gallery talks happen every day, and they're led by the volunteers team, which are generally retired older people, let's say. So we approached the volunteers team and asked them, could we get some of Tate Collective on the front line of the gallery and presenting these talks, so that the thing that you see when you're in the space isn't always an over 60 retiree, but actually some young faces talking to our public and being that first point of interaction. So we managed to convince them to let us take over all of the talk slots over one summer. And we got Tate Collective to devise talks that were really from a very personal perspective, that weren't art historical, that were often emotionally led, that really gave quite a bite-sized, accessible, easy way into understanding the artworks that we've got on display. So here I can see my favourite shape are triangles. So that can be a really valid way of understanding or interpreting an artwork. It doesn't always have to be art historical. And then we thought the talks went down really well in the gallery. People love listening to them. So why don't we take them out to a wider audience? We turned them into a series of short films for YouTube, and they're now sitting on the main Tate channel, which is really exciting because Tate is validating the opinions of our young people and sharing opinions that aren't art historical, which is great because I think it increases accessibility and shows the general public that all opinions are valid. So we've got a little playlist on the main Tate YouTube channel, and we've had over 20,000 views and lots of really engaging dialogue, which is super exciting. So I think the main point with these was this quote from our vision, which is invitation and dialogue rather than Olympian instruction. And I think traditional interpretation departments and curators can often be quite guilty of that Olympian instruction, but what we wanted to do was open up that idea of interpretation and really show that all opinions are valid and that it's not always just the art historical one that is the most important. So this is Josh. Josh is obsessed with supercars. But we managed to get Josh really engaged with Andy Warhol.
And the popularity of celebrities, and Marilyn Diptych represented these two. Andy Warhol had created this painting over 40 times, and each time he made this, it evoked the sense of her constant appearance throughout the medium. This painting was much like an Instagram post that was posted 90 times, and each time the resolution and the quality would slowly die and fade away. So put them side to side, and you see the first block had been freshly painted, posted, and then go down to the last one, which gave this sense of something being degraded, something being taken away. So as the Instagram post loses resolution, Andy Warhol was trying to evoke that Marilyn Monroe's using her sense of life and a sense of legacy. In 1968, which is
So there we go. That's an example of how Tate Collective are thinking about how our collection can relate to things in their everyday lives. So, drawing a comparison between Andy Warhol and an Instagram artist. Here are some of the feedback that we got from the talks. The middle one being my personal favourite because it infers that our audience may assume that we are condescending or jaded, but obviously we're not. These talks went down really well, and I think people appreciated being explained to in a really simple, bite-sized, accessible way. So what's the point of it all? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? The first thing that is key and that we always do is put our audience first. We're aware of ourselves as staff, not including Tate Collective, that we are specialists. We're not the experts in trying to reach young people. Our knowledge is quite limited. So we consider Tate Collective the experts and we let them do it. They know exactly how to reach young audience. They should be leading. We disrupt the norm. We're really about challenging the conventional expectations of what you discover in a gallery and creating experiences that are lasting and memorable and that will change what you think a gallery is and can be. We play to the strengths of the internet. We're really interested in the relationship between the URL and IRL, and where possible, we champion digital artists, invite them to respond to our collection, and really harness the power of online to reach really broad audiences. We take calculated risks, because we know that you have to do things new or differently to make change, and we try where possible to get what's relevant in young people's lives and bring it to the gallery, which often turns out really positively. And why do we do it? We want to create experiences that are sometimes surprising or provocative or just confirm what you already think about galleries, or nourish you, or comfort you. We're really sure that Tate can be a place where you can learn alone or learn with others, where you can have novel and inviting experiences or confirm and extend knowledge that you already have. And why? Because the future is youth, and we really believe that by creating experiences that change what people's expectations are of the gallery, that prompt them to be more creative, that inspire their imagination, will in turn foster a generation of really creative individuals and beings that go on to make society a more creative place, which will be a better place for everyone. So yeah, thank you for listening.